Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is 37 Acres in the Mountain, and my name's Harrison. And I've been looking for a upgrade on my chainsaw for a while, and I had I had a 026, and I destroyed that one. It got caught in a tree and got broken. So then I bought a MS250 used one, and just to get me by because I needed one really quick. So I sold that one, and I was debating between MS261 and an MS400, and I will show you what I decided and the reasons why. So before I show you which one I picked, one thing I found helpful in deciding which model to go with was off the Stihl website. They have a chart that shows all their different chainsaw models, and it shows you the model, the horsepower, displacement, and the power head weight. And then I added a couple other columns and did some calculations because I was curious. I did the horsepower per pound ratio. That's the column in red. And then I also did the cost per horsepower. So the horsepower per pound ratio. So for every pound of weight, it shows you how much horsepower you're getting in that saw. So for the 261, for every pound, you get 0.37 horsepower. And the Stihl chainsaw with the best overall horsepower to pound ratio, which I was really curious about, is actually the MS500i, and it came out to 0.48 horsepower per pound. And the saw with the best cost per horsepower ratio was actually the MS261 Farm Boss. It came out at $135 per horsepower. So this chart definitely helped me narrow down the saws I wanted, and you can see the 261 and the MS400 both have a good horsepower to pound ratio, and they also have a good cost per horsepower ratio. All right, moment of truth. Yeah, I was debating between a 400 and a 261, and I thought about it for a long time, and I'll give you the reasons why. And it's not a Husqvarna. It's just the case I got, but ended up going with 261. And I got this a couple weeks ago, and I actually have not even started it myself yet. We started it at the dealership, but I just put it in storage, and today's September 1st, so it's actually cooled off, and it's like 70 degrees today, so I'm starting to get back outside after the hot summer. But 261, obviously haven't been using it, so I can't. This is just the reasoning and rationale of why I went with this over the 400, and there's a couple reasons. One is obviously price. The 261, pretty much all the Stihl chainsaws look like they went up in price. I think about a month ago. I think that's tariff related. But the 261, I had the 5% coupon off. I think it ends up being close to 800. It might be a little less or a little more. But and then the MS400 ends up being around 11 or 1200, depending on which bar and chain you get. So price was definitely a factor, especially considering I just destroyed an 026 about 2 years ago. So I'm not planning on destroying this, but if something does happen, it won't be as bad as if I spent $1,200 on a saw. But that was the main reason. Price wasn't the main deciding factor. I wanted a nice, reliable saw. I was actually using the MS250 for a while, and it could do almost everything I wanted to. The only thing I didn't like is it bogged down easily. So it would take a while to cut through stuff. But I mean, I was cutting 2-3 foot logs with a 16-inch bar. So you can make it work with a small saw. just not ideal or the best tool sometimes. So the biggest factor I went with this was weight. This I believe is 10.8. This is the power head, it's not the bar and chain, but just the power head is 10.8 pounds. And that's the 261 that's like probably the best selling feature is the power to weight ratio. It's pretty much the same weight as the 250, but it has a whole 1 horsepower more. So I think the 250 is 3 horsepower if I'm remembering right, and this is 4 horsepower. Now the MS400 is 5.4 horsepower, so a whole 1.4 horsepower more, and you can definitely put a bigger bar on that saw. But it's still lightweight too for how much horsepower it is, but at the end of the day, it's a whole 2 pounds more. So it ends up being 12.8 pounds. And weight, like it's only 2 pounds, it doesn't sound that much. And if you're only running it for an hour, maybe it's not a big deal, but if you're running it all day, and especially on our property, we got a 37 acre property, and when I'm trying to, we don't have a lot of trails yet, so pretty much I park at the street and then I have to walk pretty much everywhere on the property, and it's at the top of the property to the very bottom at the creek. It's a 400 something plus or minus elevation drop. So yeah, you definitely feel it. And I wanted something I could use all day and not get worn out as quickly. So that was, in a nutshell, why I decided to go with this. So I'd say the biggest factor is weight, and second factor was cost. And I would say it gave me confidence going with this because I was using the MS250, and I mean the biggest tree on our property, there's another video on it. It was a 3-foot diameter white oak, and I mean, you can cut it up with an MS250. It just takes a while. So obviously, if you're professional and time is money, then you want something quick. But this is, I'd rather be able to use something all day versus saving maybe 5 or 10 seconds per cut with something heavier that I'm not going to be able to use as long. All right, so this is actually the MS261 C-M. So the M just means it has the M-tronic, which I think is electronically controlled carburetor, or it uses a computer to help adjust the carb for different factors. I think like a dirty air filter or elevation. I think maybe even temperature. But the reviews I read online, it seemed like they've worked all the bugs out of it that they had maybe early on. So it sounds like it's actually a pretty reliable and good feature for it. So that is still yet to be determined if I have any issues with it, but gas, just the twist nozzles, and then the bar oils over here. So it's kind of nice. You don't have to have, the MS250 had that too, but it's the 026 I used to have, the older styles, you used to have to use the wrench to twist them off, which I think some people liked, but it is nice not having to pull a tool out every time you want to change it. This does have an anti-vibration handle, so if you can see right here, there's a spring. So there's a spring there, and then we'll actually pop this cover off. So you do need a tool for that, but here's the inside of it. So air filter, compared to the other ones I had, this is actually probably a lot better air filter than the MS250. You just twist it off counterclockwise and righty-tighty it back on. But when it's off, I think these are all the sensors for the carb. So that's how I think it's how it's adjusting things based on the feedback it's getting from those. Spark plug right here, and then right here you can see the vibration handle. You can see it compress right there when you move it. So I think that, I don't think the 250 had that, and definitely the 026 I don't think had that. A lot of people I think complain about this handle, saying it's plastic, but I mean, I'm sure it's strong, and the reason they do it is for weight saving. So I mean, as long as it doesn't break, I agree, like a metal one feels more solid, but I mean, I'm sure they've I mean, who knows, this might even be stronger than a metal one with what materials they use, but it helps keep the weight down. This is a pressure decompression valve, so you can press that in before you start it, and I think it just helps make it easier to pull. And then this right here, I probably won't ever mess with this. We're in North Carolina, but there's this little thing right here you can slide out, and depending on the temperature, I think it just helps use the exhaust gas to heat up the carb when it's really cold outside, so you don't get frost on the carb. But I think they recommend anything below 50. So maybe in January or something, I'll flip this around, but pretty much, yeah, you just flip it around that way. But I think you got to be careful not leaving it on when it's hot out, because I think it can cause damage if it gets too hot. So like if you forget to flip it back in July, it's not really good for the saw. But yeah, everything else is pretty much same as a normal Stihl chainsaw if you're familiar with them. We'll pop this back on. Brake, that's all standard. I know these bar nuts, they I think they're built into the cover, which none of my previous saws had that, so it'll be nice not having to worry about losing these in the dirt. But yeah, I just want to pop this off. You can kind of see, yeah, the nuts are just part of the bolt, and then they just screw onto there. But yeah, that's actually really cool. I like that better than my old ones. And yeah, I'm enjoying the saw while it's all nice and shiny, but it won't be like that for long. But yeah, chain tensioner. I think you can adjust the oil with that. And yeah, I went with the 18-inch bar, and like I said, most of the stuff on our property, I would say 90% of the stuff on our property is under 18 inches. And then the bigger stuff that's over 18 inches, you can still cut it with an 18-inch. You just gotta, yeah, go from one side and then come back, wrap the saw around and go to the other side. So I definitely valued a smaller, lighter weighter saw, I guess, in my situation. But I think the 400 would have been a really nice saw, and who knows? I might find that maybe this is still lacking. And maybe I'll end up getting the 400 as well. And front of the saw, It's got the dog right there. I think it's a nice size one. I might eventually get a bigger one, but when you go bigger on these, then it does take away from your workable cutting length of the bar. But yeah, let's start this up. So I already got the decompression valve pushed in. So we're going to push this all the way down to the choke position. And so yeah, started right up. Took maybe 5 pulls till it fired up. But yeah, I haven't started it. This is literally the first time I've actually started it. So I'm sure the more I use it and stuff, and we'll try. So since I already got it started, it's yeah, just in the middle position now. And that was without the decompression valve pushed. So I'm going to push the decompression valve down. Yeah, I can't tell a major difference, but it's definitely easy to pull. I did get one other thing, and then we'll go test the saw out. Let's see. Because I got this case, but I've been seeing these pop up on, I think on Facebook, on the advertisements. But I got this called the Chain Locker, and this is the Pro Series. I think it just means it's a bigger, they have a smaller one that's like half this size, but this one has storage for multiple chains. And the main thing is it prevents them from getting tangled. So I got an extra chain when I got the last one. So everybody knows about, yeah, the joys of chains getting tangled up. So then you gotta unwind them. So I know there's a trick to it, but I still seem to struggle with it. All right, that was easy. So yeah, this is a sharp chain, so you can do a couple different ways, but yeah, pretty much, yeah, one side I'm planning on just having sharp chains, and then the other side that's where when I take one off, I'll stick it in here, and then yeah, those will be to be sharpened. So you can do something like that, and then maybe have like a 16-inch chain, and then so there's a bunch of different configurations, but this will be really nice if I can stick this behind the seat in my truck, store it, and then just have all the chains I have nice and organized. So excited about this. I think this was like 70 bucks or something online. So a little pricey, but I definitely wanted the bigger one versus the smaller one, so I can have sharp ones and unsharp ones separated. If you don't have chaps or a helmet, I highly recommend them. I didn't always wear them, but the older I got and the more I thought about if it was worth risking, it's definitely a smart thing to do. The helmet actually is a helmet I got. Nothing special, but it saved me a couple of times because you're cutting something and then when the tree falls, it ends up hitting like something around it that's dead or something. And then I got hit in the head one time and it hurt with the helmet on, so I can only imagine if I didn't have the helmet on what it'd feel like. I like it. And that was night and day between the MS250. Yeah, it cut right through there. I did one time. I did just try to like use the dog and kind of bury the saw in the wood, and it did kind of bog down a little bit. But I mean, if you just let the saw do the cutting, it goes plenty fast enough. So impressions of the saw, I think it's going to be exactly what I wanted. I don't think I'll be disappointed in it. Maybe down the road, I might end up getting something bigger, but I think this will probably work just fine. Actually, I was thinking about eventually maybe getting like an MS194 or something just for delimbing and something really lightweight. Those things are, I think they get around like 7 pounds or something, if I remember right. But I think this will be just a good all-around saw. Has enough power for what I need, but still the lightweight to where I can carry it around the property. But yeah, I know there is, from what I've read on the comments, everybody says around like 5 to 10, once you run 5 to 10 tanks of fuel through it, it really comes alive with most Stihl saws just after they kind of get broken in. So, I mean, this thing feels awesome on the first tank. So I'll give you an update on this saw in the future, and thanks for watching, and see you next time.